So this is a B computer, and the premise of the B computer is it's hearing everything that's said, and it will record what's being said temporarily, and then it sends it up to AI, artificial intelligence, and it does like meeting minutes. And if you wear this thing while you do hive inspections, which is what I do with it will record everything you say while you're doing a hive inspection, and then later it'll give you a summary. And so I'll say, I'm looking at frame number two. This is what I see. I'm looking at frame number three. This is what I see, and so on and so forth. And I'll say to myself, for this hive, the next thing I need to do is do a split or uh, replace frame number five or whatever it is. And it listens. And then when I finish the recording, I stop it. And in about 5 minutes, maybe less, it goes and processes everything it heard and it sums it all up for you and gives you a report. And it'll say, you said you wanted to replace frame number five. Do you want to start an action item for that? You want me to set a reminder for it? You want me to put something in your to-do calendar, whatever it is you do? And it kind of just keeps everything tracked for you. And I could go to a meeting and talk to somebody and just say, I talked to Bob Johnson and he said this and that and whatever. And then later I'll go back and go, what was the name of the guy I talked to at the Bucks County meeting? He was talking about ta ta ta. And the thing will know from the meeting that I went to in February that it was Bob Johnson. It's kind of weird. It's a little weird. Now, the thing that I wonder about with this is not the only one. There's tons and tons of these now coming out. I'm getting advertisements for 20 different variations of this thing. And by the way, you could use your Apple Watch if you have one of those. So as you think about the way this works, and you go, well, this is a bit Big Brother. You talk to Kevin, and Kevin's around. He's recording everything I say. That's kind of weird. It's no different than when you're walking down the street and all these cameras are catching you, right? They know everything you do. And if you go, I was just having this conversation with somebody today. If you search on the internet for someone, you find out where they live, how old they are, what their date of birth is, and all kinds of crazy things about them. And this is just one more layer of this. And I'm an early adopter because somebody bought me this, and I really only use this for my bee inspections. I'm not wearing it out every day. I think it's kind of creepy to record conversations without people knowing it. But I suspect that it is highly possible that 3, 4 years from now, these will be all over the place. People just consider it commonplace and expect that everywhere they go, they're probably being recorded and somebody's getting to do items and things like that from it. So anyway, I just wanted to introduce you. If you go to a website, instead of something.com, it's B-E-E dot computer. That's the website. And you could see all about this thing. Where this is a great place, by the way, if you really wanted to say where it really lands, if you're a student and you're going to school, it will record everything the professor says in your college class and come back later and have all the cliff notes of the conversation of your lesson. So
Oh,
from a student standpoint, this thing is like amazing. It's called a B computer, BEE computer. So that's our opening salvo. How's everybody doing tonight? Management entering April 29th. Today happens to be my older brother's birthday. And I was out where could bees today. I don't know if anybody got out when the sun was up. Now it's a little cloudy and there's rain on the way. It was warm enough. It's going to be kind of a little odd. Um, Over the next couple of days, it seems like cold, wet, rainy. But I had three topics I wanted to bring up. One of them is it's swarm season. I captured my first swarm this week and put it in a box. It's on pad number one in my apiary. Um, if you haven't done swarm management, which is kind of odd at this point, you still have time. We'd had the Northwest field day, and we went through the colonies for Northwest in the training apiary. And one of them, everybody thought was booming and was going crazy, was actually in the top box, and the bottom boxes were empty. And as we did a review of it, we ended up doing a spring reversal, putting it on the bottom and moving all the empty boxes above it so it had space to grow into. And I had one colony, the one that I split today, that was a little slower than everything else this year. It was smaller coming out, but it has caught up. And I split it today just to make sure that it wasn't swarming. Last week, I had one colony that was from the floor to the ceiling and wall to wall, top boxes, two boxes, and I split the colony. I had seen a massive amount of activity at one of my swarm traps. After I made that split, no more. They stopped coming back. So it was that hive, and I stopped it from swarming because I'm almost positive that's the one. And what I want you to do is, if you're on the cusp of swarming, pull a frame out and look at the bees. You know what the waggle dance looks like. You'll see bees all over the comb, waggling, jumping on top of each other, you know, and you go, that's odd. There's an awful lot of that going on in here. That's the scout bees trying to get everybody excited to swarm. I mean, I think I physically stopped this colony in its tracks on the day it was going to swarm. I heard, I was outside, a large contingent of bees going out, and I went up into the apiary, and there were probably 1,000 bees flying around, and then they all went back in. And it wasn't the orientation thing. It was a false swarm. They were doing a practice run. They do that sometimes before they actually swarm. Some of them get so excited they go outside and start flying around like they're going to swarm. But what do they need to swarm? A queen. And they didn't have one. So then they go back in and they wait for the next time. Next time, queen will come with me. So swarm management, if you haven't done it and you have some grown colonies, make sure you're putting a lot of space on them. Now I have one colony that is a double deep, and it's full of bees, and I put honey supers on them, but one of them is a flow hive super. And I don't think they love that flow hive super. Don't consider it that much space. Now there's another regular super above it, and that colony looked like it was going to swarm this week, but it hasn't yet that I know of. So hard to say where that one's going to go. If you haven't added your honey boxes, and it's time, unless you had some of those smaller colonies, make sure you have honey boxes on. And we always recommend you put at least two. Two is the right answer. Three is kind of overkill, especially since we're still having some cold nights. We just had a frost warning, I think, on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday here in our zone. So slower colonies, they need to be managed. And for those of you who are starting new bees, make sure you're feeding them all the way through. If anybody started a colony that started with a nuke, make sure that you're keeping track of that. I had nuke colonies that were 6/6. That's the type of box I had them in. In 1 week, they went from 6 frames to 12 frames, and they were bursting. And there's swarm cells all throughout. I was astonished. I've seen colonies go fast, not in a week, but this one did it in a week. That tells me that the nectar flow is just absurdly good, and I could see nectar coming in and being stored in all the colonies. And if you got a nucleus colony that was frame after frame after frame after frame after frame of capped brood, all that capped brood's coming out, and now they have double the population. Think about a bee in a cell standing on its head, coming out is covering 2 cells when it stands flat. And so your population of number of bees on frames will be just crazy when all that brood emerges. And then the queen is going to lay up a storm, and within 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, you're going to have double the population of that even. So if you have a nucleus colony and it's been in play for 3 weeks, because some of you got your nukes at least 3 weeks ago, make sure you're staying with the population. One of the worst things you could have happen is put a nuke in a box, get it to 10 frames, and then watch it swarm out the door. And this is about the time of year that we see reports of people saying, yeah, my new hive just swarmed. I can't believe it. So don't underestimate the power of growth of a colony, especially now that the nectar flow is crazy. So do any of your spring reversals, make sure the colonies aren't crowded, be in looking for swarm cells and any of that stuff going on, and make sure you give them an abundance of space, especially if you started a new colony. Get ready to have your second box on. So for those of you who get to the point of adding a second box, one of the things I wanted to say to you is take the box that you have with the new frames in it, whether they're drawn or foundation, put them out in the sun. Let them warm up. Let them get really hot inside, and then put it on top of your colony. They like it when the equipment is warmed up. They'll come right up into it. We always kind of forget that. We'll have it sitting in a cool garage and take it and put it on top, and it'll be weird to them. I get questions this time of year about what do I do with varroa mites. I will say to you that in every normal circumstance, I can't think of anything differently. Your varroa mites should not be that big of a problem this time of year. Coming out of winter, there wasn't a high varroa mite load. Many people did varroa mite treatments right out of the gate. And even if you didn't do anything, they haven't ramped up to the point where they're going to be generally difficult on the population. They just haven't. That's not to say that they're not in there and they're gaining traction. They are. But the other thing that you consider is this time of year when they're foraging from 7 to 7, there's a lot of attrition in bees. A lot of the bees rotate through to forager, and they're only a forager for a short period of time because they're working so hard. And if they're foraging night and day, they only last a couple weeks. And so what you have on your side is rotation of fresh bees all the time, and they can endure a little bit of varroa mite impact while varroa mites are starting to ramp. Now, when we get into May and we go through into June, that's when critical mass is there for varroa mites, and you really want to start monitoring and paying attention. Now, in the textbooks and the pundits who say do the right thing, they want you to monitor every week or every month, at least once a month. And I wouldn't tell you, dissuade you from doing that, but I think if you monitored now, you're probably not going to see a high mite load. You just generally won't. One thing I want to plant in the back of your mind, if you're a current beekeeper, is your queen just came out from winter. If she's a new queen last year, should be good this year. But by the end of the year, she's on the cusp of using up all of her materials going into next year. Queens, I know that they can live years and years and years and years. What I will tell you generally, though, by experience is you usually get about 2.5 years out of them. It is not uncommon for people to start a queen with a package or a nuke. And mind you, where did they get the queen? They either put one in or they got it from somewhere that they had banked, and we don't know how old it is. Hopefully it's a new one. If it's a new one, you're going to get 2 years and you'll go into next season. But if it's not that new, maybe it's an overwintered queen, then it already has a year. It goes through this year, that's 2 years, and it goes into next year. That's 3 years. They usually last about 2.5 years. What you don't want to run into is if the queen wasn't mated well, that she runs out of materials to fertilize eggs by the end of this year and you go into winter with a problem. So I don't know what kind of notes you have about your queens. If you got an overwintered nuke and you started with that, know that your queen is 1 year old and she's going to go through this year and be 2 years old by the end of the season. And you should be looking at replacing her at minimum next year. And if you've overwintered a queen a couple years already, then you should have a succession plan for this year. And that doesn't mean going to buy a queen. You can let the colony get to the point where it is going to swarm and it has swarm cells and make a split, take the swarm cells out, put them on the side, let them run their course, let that nuke be a reserve. And if the nuke on the side raises a queen, it goes out, gets mated, starts laying, then you have your replacement. And she's the daughter of the one you love. So you pinch the mama and bring the daughter in and let her run the colony. And you've changed the guard, so to speak. So I'm just kind of mentioning all this to get you thinking about what should you be doing for your summer management plan and where does your queen stand? So those were the three main topics I'm going to ask. On any of those things, does anybody have questions? How do you do it? Why do you do it? When do you do it? Anything like that. Is there a subscription on this device? I missed that question. You get X number of free hours on the B-Doc computer. It'll do the translation. They call them tokens. They come with the device. If you use it 24/7 to record every conversation and you exhaust the hours that are available to you, you can upscale and buy a subscription to it. I only use it periodically for different things. I don't wear it all day long. Like I said, I feel it's kind of weird or creepy, but it's hard to say. I've never exceeded the hours for it so far.
Kevin, why do they swarm in the spring during this heavy nectar? I got two new nukes this year and with queens, and I didn't look in my hives today, but I'm going to look in them tomorrow. But
Okay.
I know that the my frames are like when I looked at it last week, I was like, wow, they are really going to town. So, but I was just wondering, why do they swarm right now?
So swarming is the natural impulse for reproductivity. That's how they reproduce. They cast off swarms into nature to just reproduce that way. And what would happen is the abundance of food coming in, nutrition, congestion, presence of drones, all equal the secret formula that the queen can swarm and go start a new colony, knowing that the existing original colony can carry on. And so that's primarily why this is the time when they swarm. It's usually during the main nectar flow. And when you think about it, April 15th is usually the starting gun for swarming in New Jersey. And it carries on through May and into June. When you see swarms in July, August, September, a lot of times there's so much varroa mite pressure that the hive environment is not conducive to the colony and they might leave. You really don't want to pick up swarms that left the coop in the July, August, September timeframe because they're usually leaving because of an abundance of varroa mites. And they may even get to the point of not only leaving, but absconding, where they just find it so bad that they leave altogether and go find a new home. So it's really just nature. It's nature's way of reproducing over the millions of years that bees have been around. This is how they propagate the species. They cast off swarms, and no better time to do it than when they have an abundance of food. Think about a swarm casting off and finding a hole and going into a bee tree and having an empty cavity. They don't have a beekeeper to feed them. They don't have a beekeeper to give them food to uh, supply all the carbohydrates they need. And it takes a massive amount of carbohydrates to make wax. And so, from that perspective, this is about the only time that they can cast off and get to the finish line of producing a completely new hive interior for the colony to live in and have the food and energy to do that. So there's an adage out there, an old time saying, a swarm in May is worth a load of hay. A swarm in June is worth a silver spoon. A swarm in July isn't worth a fly. And the reason why is when they fly out in July, they generally don't get to the finish line of building a suitable enough home and stacking in enough resources, even in a natural environment, to be able to overwinter.
Hmm. Kevin, I have a question.
Sure.
Um, I've read a couple different places that if you put 9 frames in a hive, it's better than 10 only because of the extra space. Do you consider that good or not?
That's an it depends question. And it takes context to understand that instruction. One, some people, let's talk about the brood nest where the bees live, where the main uh, area is for the queen. You would typically run 10 frames in that area. Why? Because you want all 10 frames for the space for the queen to work with. She builds more brood and has more resources at the disposal in, let's say it's a 2D 20 frame area. If you take out 2 frames, you've taken out 20% of the space. So in the brood nest, you want it to be 10. Now, sometimes people run 9 in one and 10 in the other, and in the 10th space, they have a feeder. So that's why you might run 9 in a bottom of the box. Now, when it comes to the top, honey supers, you put 10 in to build the frames out from foundation. And then once they're fully drawn, you take one out and you space the 9 frames evenly between the walls. And the extra space left from not having a frame in there allows the bees to build the cells a little bit deeper. And as a net result, the capping on the wax is farther out from the face of the frame. And when you go to cut it off, you could slice it off straight away and spin that out in your extractor. One, you'll get more honey, and two, it's easier to uncap the frame. So once you have 10 drawn frames, if you're a new beekeeper, the recommendation is pull one frame out and space 9 frames between the walls and let the bees fill that with honey and run 9 frames in your honey supers. Now, some will argue with you, and I want you to think about this. When you have 10 frames in a box down below and 10 frames above that, and you think about the gap between the frames, the seam, it's contiguous through the boxes. If you have 10 frames in your honey super, it continues all the way through the honey super. But when you put 9 frames in, the open space between the frames now all of a sudden has a top bar over it or a bottom bar over it. That's one knock about running 9, but the bees figure it out. Bee space is fine. You're okay. And we recommend you put 10 frames in your honey super to build. And then when you're actually collecting honey in the honey season, take one out and run 9 and center them across the center of the box. Hope that answers your question. So I know we've been running a
Thank
little
you.
late. I want to go through roundtables, but I'll take open questions. Somebody else had one? Yeah, Gordon,
Yeah,
go.
I do. Um, on a warm day in March, I opened up one hive just to get a sense of where the apiary was and was pleased to find capped brood, so I closed it up. Uh, I figured that was good enough for that time of year. Uh, then in April, I opened up the same hive, and there's no more capped brood. So I figured that queen probably got dismissed. So I didn't spend a lot of time looking for her to make sure, but I did borrow 2 frames of eggs and young larvae from another hive and put it in the one that I assume now is queenless. That was 2 weeks ago. And then I took a trip and just got back. So tomorrow I'm going to go check to see if there's uh, queen cells that are show emerged queens. What do you think the percentage is for them that early in the season to actually have started new queens?
I think it's pretty good.
Pretty
Uh,
good.
yeah. I mean, the other thing, and I think this is more common than we'd like to admit, is they could have swarmed quite early. And if they swarm, but they have daughters in play, meaning somewhere in the colony there is a queen cell underway, they don't panic. Your brood in all stages ceases to exist because there's no queen laying anymore. And everybody just kind of hums along waiting for the new queen to appear. Now, as the weeks go on, if there is no plan in progress, meaning a queen is not in play because a daughter didn't work, she went out, didn't come back, or she didn't actually make it to get out of the cell or something like that, then they tend to get a little nervous and upset, and you'll find them loud when you take the roof off, and you'll find them a little more aggressive. You'll also see bees fanning. They'll come up and fan, like, come on, queen, come back, right? And they'll start showing their Nasonov glands. So look for the signs, read it. It could be that that colony swarmed and they don't have any brood because they were building a queen. But you did the right thing. If that is the case, putting extra frames of brood in will never hurt the situation. And if they
Right.
needed a queen, they would build one. And I'm curious to hear what you find when you go back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things to find this time of year, but stuff like that. And then you end up playing forensics trying to figure out, well, what actually happened and why, you know?
Kevin, I have another question. Going back to you were talking about, like, this is a little bit further down the road, but if you end up without a queen and you want to try to make a new queen, you said to replace the queen, pinch her off, and then you also said you take the frames that have any queen cells on them and put them aside. So put them aside
Yeah.
to
Okay. Let me explain that.
okay, put them aside to
If
where.
you have a full-size colony and it has a queen and they're starting to make queen cells, there's the traditional way to make a split is to take your queen out with a contingent of food, and let's say you put her in a nuke box. That's how you make a split, and you stop the colony from swarming. It's called an artificial swarm, which is you did the swarm, not the bees.
Okay, and you
If
take
you're in the colony, though, go ahead. Ask. I want to make sure I don't go past you. Ask your.
okay, so you take it out and you give her frames of brood, honey, and nectar.
Correct. Right. So you would give her. I'm going to make it. This is a description of a typical split. I'm going to find a frame with the queen on it. I'm going to take that frame with the queen and I'm going to put it in a 5-frame nuke box. I'm going to go through the colony. I'm going to find a frame of capped brood and I'm going to put that in with her. Why am I putting capped brood? Because when the capped brood emerges, that will give her a whole new workforce. So not only will she get the bees on that frame, but she'll also get the emerged bees that come out to add to her future workforce. I'm going to give her a frame of food, whether it's pollen and or nectar or a combo frame. I'm going to give her an open frame that she can lay eggs in so that she can continue laying eggs and hold the cohesiveness. And then the last frame is optional. You give them a frame of foundation. You can give them a drawn frame. You could just pull another frame of brood in progress out. That's a typical everyday run of the mill artificial swarm split. And in the original colony, you've taken the queen out, you've taken a bunch of bees out, you've taken resources out, and you've either given them foundation or drawn comb. And all the bees that are left in there are going to go, okay, one, we don't have a queen. Two, there sure is a lot less bees in here. Three, there's less brood. That's not here anymore. And now I have these other frames that weren't here before. Their message is we must have swarmed. And so they will make queen cells and they will replace the queen if they haven't done that already. So that's a everyday you take care of making the divide and making it artificial. Now, where I was going is you're working through your box. You've got a laying queen. There's a combination of brood in all stages. You pick up a frame and you see eggs, you feed larvae, you see capped larvae, everything's good. But you pick it up and you see a capped queen cell. And you go, okay, what does that mean to me? I have a working queen. I have lots of bees. I have all kinds of brood in progress, and they're making queen cells. What do they want to do? Swarm. Sign of swarming. Now, I can go the route I went before, which is take the queen out and put her aside. But what I'd rather do is keep this colony going. I'd really like them to keep going. So if I only found one queen cell or two queen cells, and I was scrupulous at looking, what I could do is change up the game by going in and taking the frames with the queen cells. Let's say I did a full inspection, looked at every single frame. I found two queen cells on two frames. I'm going to take those two frames with the queen cells and I'm going to put them in the nuke. And then I'm going to give them the same thing I would have given the queen. Food, resources, bees, and I'm going to set this over here. Now, what just happened to the main colony? Their queen cells are gone. The congestion is gone. Brood is gone. The main colony is going to say, I don't know what happened. We didn't swarm, but now we have room to carry on because I have 5 new frames of drawn comb or foundation. And you know what? Forget it. Let's not swarm. Let's just keep going. And the original queen keeps going. Now, one thing I say to everybody is if that colony had already had a mindset to swarm, they might just go, okay, well, we were going to swarm. Now we can't because we don't have queen cells. But you know what? You go build some more queen cells and they'll go build more queen cells. That's possible. But hopefully you've taken the energy out of the swarm impulse by moving that over into the nuke. Now, that's not the same as a normal swarm where the queen would have left. But over here, what will happen with those queen cells? They'll emerge. The daughters will go out and get mated, and they'll come back and they'll make their own colony. They don't care what happened in the original, whether that's going to swarm again or not. They could care less. They'll become their own colony. Once that colony runs its course and it has a laying queen, you now have off to the side another colony, fully functional. If this one stayed the course, didn't swarm, which is what you try to keep it from doing, and the original queen did her thing and she goes through the season and she makes honey for you and whatever. Now it's the end of the season and you have a queen that's been laying for a couple seasons and she's almost out of sperm and she's not going to keep going as a young queen would. You can go into that colony and say, thank you for your service and pinch that queen and go over to the other one who's now laying and established herself and do a combine. Bring her over and put her in with the original colony that she was pulled out from. And she will then take over and become the queen. And what you had is a colony in reserve with a fresh new queen that is now proven and working. And you got your honey out of the original colony. And now you put it back and you've basically upgraded because you've got a new queen going into winter. And the new queen during your combine, after the season is over, will build you lots of winter bees because she's got all the eggs and mating and whatever that she needs in order to build a great big population for you for winter. And this colony will do great going into winter. That's the full run of what I was alluding to earlier.
Okay. Wow, that works, huh? Have you done it?
That does work.
Yeah.
As you know, it's kind of like, which game do you want to play? Do you want to make a traditional split, or do you want to try it? Now, where that one sometimes goes
And what-
wrong,
Yeah.
there are times when, like I said, they want to swarm and they're going to build even more queen cells. And you're going to be faced with either making a traditional split to stop it or going in and killing queen cells, or, who knows? You're going to have to manage it.
Wow.
Kevin,
Yeah.
oh, hey, how long do you leave them in the nukes? The queen that you moved with a couple of frames, you said to move them into a nuke. How long do you leave them in there?
Yeah, I mean, you could leave them there and, eventually she's going to start laying and she's going to get to the point where she's going to run out of room. And you're either going to have to move her into a full-size colony, move her into a 10 frame box, or do something with her. So that's usually your impetus to do something with her when that gets crowded. Now, I have a great friend who loves that, does that a lot. And they go in that nuke with 5 frames, and every once in a while they take one of the frames out and they harvest it and put a foundation in. And when the foundation is in there, they go, okay, well, we had a frame, but now we don't. And now we got foundation, and all you guys, we still want to build to a full-size colony. They want to build to a full-size colony. So they build the frame up. Okay, you took it away from me, but I'm going to do it again. And they get that frame built and they pull one out, take it away and give them another one. And they go, I don't know what's going on, but there's another frame and we need to get to full size. So build that one. And they keep doing it. And the funny thing about nukes is they don't build drones. They are very efficient in their resources and they build comb like nobody's business. And so it's kind of a fun game to play. If you need comb built, that nuke on the side with a new queen and a bunch of young bees is a comb building machine. And he loves to build comb that way, my friend Bob.
So do you put a syrup water in there like the
Yeah, I would feed a new colony.
and you can just leave it there for a couple weeks?
So if you have drawn comb, then typically you don't have to feed them. You really want to feed them if they're drawing comb. And yeah, you'd be surprised. So last year I took 3 frames. I took 1 frame of brood, 1 frame of food, and 1 drawn frame with nothing in it. And I put a new queen in it. And by the end of the year, I had 6 frames fully drawn. I gave them also foundation. I don't like to build foundation past the summer solstice that much because they don't have enough resources. Even if you feed them, they generally don't do very well. But in the springtime, oh yeah, they can do it. They can do it. So it all depends on what you're trying to do. If you're somebody that knows how important drawn comb is and you want to have a drawn comb factory, put a nuke on the side and give them comb to build. They do very well at it. So Deborah, while I have you, any other questions? Let's do roundtable. We'll start.
No. I think question is, I didn't get into the hives today. I've been feeding them once a week with the 1-to-1 syrup. And if it's raining tomorrow, I just have to wait till Friday.
Yeah.
Look for I guess look for an open. Sometimes it's hard because you're gone. You have something you have to go do, and you want to get into your hives, and I don't know, it's raining.
So everybody do this tonight for us. Let's just talk about how many hives do you have and what do you have going on? How new are they? Are they overwintered?
Mine are 2 weeks. Let's see. Is this the third week? I forget. Um, might be just the second, about 2.5 weeks. And I lost my two hives last year we talked about it last time,
So
which
you
was,
have new hives and you started with nukes.
yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah, and to the comment of how often you can get into it. Heck, there's a lot of people who work 9 to 5. And if you worked like I used to, you'd work from 7 to 7. And by the time you get home, you can't go in your bees. It's dark and you become a weekend beekeeper. You need to be really efficient if you're a weekend beekeeper and it rains on the weekend. You do some strange things to try and get by. So I understand the strife of that. You do whatever you can to try and stay ahead of them. But you should do okay. You're in one box with those two, yes?
Two boxes. Two.
Are they mediums?
They're 9 deep with this water in there, for the
Okay,
syrup,
yeah.
and two queens. And I started with 5 frames with a nuke.
No,
Five.
but I'm sorry. Each box has one box right now on the bottom
Yes,
order,
yes, yes,
right?
yes. Each five.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'm
good.
getting ready to have my next. Do I put a short box or a deep box on?
That's your choice. Typically, it's two deeps. If you're running deeps, it's typically two deeps.
Okay, so I think it's two deeps.
Yeah, and you should be getting there, right? 3 weeks.
Right.
If
They were.
especially if you had established comb, they're going to grow pretty quickly. Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
do you have any foundation you're building this year?
You mean as far as on the frames?
Yeah, any brand new frames that don't have drawn wax. You have any of those?
Yes, I did. Because I had to clean up all my frames and put in new foundation because they were so trashed. We talked about that last time, which I did. So I think I had five, whatever was in the nukes, and I added 4 frames with foundation.
Okay. And is it plastic foundation or wax?
No, I put wax in.
Okay. So keep an eye on it and follow. There's a lesson in the thing that tells you how to rotate the frames in and
Right.
okay.
I
Yeah, just
actually
follow.
rotated last time already.
Good. Okay. All right. Sounds like you're in a good place.
Woo! No,
And
but
if you miss a day here or there, you'll be okay.
well, it seems like the more you learn about keeping your bees, the more you realize what you just don't know anything. I don't know.
Well, just when you think you get it, they teach you something else. There's always some really interesting
No.
things. So, okay, keep going. You're doing good. Jack, we'll go to you. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Um, got 2 hives going in there. They're booming pretty much. I
Good.
just started last year with a nuke and a package, basically.
So you had two hives come out of winter, and
Yes,
by now you probably have honey supers on.
yes, oh yes,
Have you looked in the honey supers at all? Do you have stuff being stored yet?
oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, you should.
I have one super full of honey
Yeah,
and
good. Okay.
an empty one on. I just this week added one on top. Yeah.
Okay. So two honey supers on them. And when that one gets full, we're going to talk about this in the next couple of weeks. But
Yeah.
what's your plan? Do you leave the full one on the bottom
Well, yeah.
and put the empties on top? Yeah.
Take the queen excluder out when you get one down that below. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's a school of thought. When you put new boxes on, where should you put them? Should you put them on top of the stack, or should you take the drawn honey off, put the new one over the brood nest, and then put the filled one back on top just to hold it until you're ready to harvest? We'll talk about that in the next couple of weeks. A lot of people like to do that because it puts the remember they're coming in the front entrance and they have to go up through the boxes to get to the honey chamber. And if you move the empty one closer, it's less work for them. They don't have to walk through the full one to get to the one on the top, and so on. So there's different strategies there. You think that through, and we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, well, seems like if it's you take a chance on the queen moving up there too, unless you put an excluder in.
Well, the good news is that when they build the main nest, they put honey across the top of the frames and around the corners. And typically she doesn't cross over that. And if she has two deeps, it's very rare that she'll go up into the honey supers. Now, notice I didn't say she won't, because I won't promise that. But I've only seen it in my years a handful of times. And it's just when she is dead set on she's going to lay on every frame and, well, there's more up there and I'm going up there. But most of the time when you put that honey super on during a nectar flow, within the first hours, when they come up and they see that empty space, they don't go up into the top one. They put it right in there. And as soon as it starts getting filled with nectar, she won't go in there, generally.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like you're in a good place.
I am.
Okay. And so no questions, I'll move on.
Not really. Not really.
Okay. Go to Gordon. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, I have 6 hives, and 4 of them 2 weeks ago were extremely strong. So I think tomorrow I'll possibly find some intentional swarming. I've had situations before with a really strong hive that's bent on swarming to open it and find like 26 queen cells.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had one beekeeper say that, so it gives you a lot of options. You could split it several times or start, raising a number of extra queens for later use. I had one beekeeper that was adamant about when you do that, you wanna kill off the extra queen cells. You don't want more than 1 or 2, because then if you have so many virgins coming out, you just increase the likelihood of many after swarms and reduce the population of any one swarm. It's better, or they fight each other off so much that they kill everyone gets killed. So it's better just to have 1 or 2 queen cells for any situation that you leave for the new queen to get out and get mated. What's your thinking about that?
Yeah. That's a fair assessment of that. So some beekeepers go into a hive and see there's 2 on this frame and 2 on the other side, 2 here and 3 here, and 2 here, and they just were so set on making a queen that there's queen cells all over the place. I do find that when you see that, if that colony swarms and the virgins come out, and there's all kinds of virgins running around, it has a propensity to swarm again and swarm again and swarm again. I agree with the guidance that if you want to let the virgins come out and become a new queen and replace the existing queen, if she's still in there, that's fine. But I agree you should go and knock down. If I see a runty cell, I'm going to kill that one. If I see one that's damaged, I'm going to kill that one. If I see one that I don't like the place of it, I'm going to kill that one. If it's one of those naturally occurring, really nice looking cells down in the margin, that's the one I'm going to keep. So I'd look at it and go, okay, which one of these cells is the beauty queen? Some of them are too long. A too long cell is not a good one, so you'll get rid of that one. But I subscribe to what your friend said, is that hives that have an overabundance of queen cells often turn into the potential for a bad situation. And if you are going to do something about that, you either, I've seen beekeepers do this with merriment. Oh, here's 2 cells. I'm going to put that over in a nuke. Here's 2 cells. I'm going to put that over in a nuke. Here's 3 cells. I'm going to put that over here in that nuke. And then they just divide their colonies up into 3-frame, 5-frame nukes, let all those things out. Next thing you know, they have 10 hives going. They love that. If you're of that ilk, that's what you can do with those and see what happens. And then this is the funny thing about that. Let's play that one out. Now you've taken all of those cells, let's say you had 20 of them for exaggeration purposes, and you split them into 5 hives. All 5 hives run their course. Maybe 3 of them take and 2 of them don't. Then you have 3 hives, but you have 2 without bees, without a queen. You merge them together, and people like to play those games and odds to do increases. What did it cost them? Nothing. These are free bees, right? If you're of the mind to experiment and do whatever, try all that stuff. If you're a 2 hive in the backyard beekeeper and you just want to make honey, then squish all those queen cells and get rid of them. It's a surprise to a lot of people to know that you miss a queen cell, queen comes out, she's running around in there as a virgin. She's not giving off pheromone, and therefore she's free to do whatever she wants in there. And sometimes she can go back and get mated and come back into that colony. And there's so many bees, and she's still not laying yet, so she's not giving off, that you end up with 2 queens inside of a colony. It happens more than you would imagine. So, just do your inspections and see what's what and keep going. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thanks.
The Hayden, did you see that he was on the Sustainable Beekeepers Guild for Michigan? The Harbo-like thing that you sent me? I don't know if that rings a bell with you. Did we lose? No. Yeah. You
Were you still
disappeared.
talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Repeat your question.
The email you sent me about the Hayden survey.
Yes, yes.
He was on the Sustainable Beekeepers Guild seminar this week. They were
Okay.
covering him. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know. You can go probably watch that.
Okay.
Yeah. And thanks for sending that. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. I was going to try it before my trip, but it was not a good day, so I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, so everybody can follow in. You sent me this thing about how to sample for varroa mites in a colony and get an assessment of how good your mite suppression is. Like, are your bees hygienic? Do they show varroa sensitive hygiene traits? And you use I think the word is depilation sheet that you would use to pull hair off, and you stick it on your honeycomb and pull it off, and it pulls the capping off, and then you shake the bees out, you sample them. And when you sample the bees that came out of the square, you can make an assessment of how hygienic your bees are and whether they're not just whether there's varroa mite. You can find that out, but you can also see how good they are at mite suppression and such. You can look that up on the internet, but this is all the rage, this type of stuff these days.
What is that called, Kevin? Do you mind repeating some of that stuff?
Hayden, Hayden.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tina, go to you. Have anything you want to chat about tonight? You're on mute if you're trying to talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, so I have one hive and I wintered over these bees with a new queen that I put in last August. And they're booming. They're doing well. And I have gone in and done an inspection, and I saw my queen, I saw a brood, I saw some beautiful pollen, all different colors.
Good.
Yeah, and a little bit of honey, a little rainbow on the top.
Good.
Yeah, when I opened the hive, I did break open some brood cells on the bottom, and I looked at them. They did not seem to have any varroa. So that I was happy about. I do plan to split the hive, but I'm waiting for week after next, only because my plan was to do it when the temperatures were above 40, 45, maybe 50. Am I
Okay.
doing that right? Am I on the right track with the temperatures, or will they split?
Yes, yeah. The one thing I would say though is be mindful of the congestion inside the colony. If the thing is really going crazy and they're out of space, they've got all 20 frames. You run two 10 frame
I have two
or you have
deeps.
three mediums.
No, I would like to get to that point, and that's another conversation for another day, how to start a medium. But I do have two deeps, and I added a medium honey super that I had from last year that they started to build out in the fall.
Okay.
But I took it off when I reduced the hive. So I just kept that, and there's no bugs in it or anything. I kept it up in my garage in the sunlight. And so it looked really clean, and I put that back on.
Okay.
I also still have all my insulation wrapped around there. So I was hesitant to remove that. Um, so
Yeah,
that's
when
still
you
on
do your
there.
inspection, you can probably get there. I mean, I'm looking past this week, and the last cold day that I see is Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be below 40 something. But if your colony is full size, they can endure that
They
cold.
can.
And you could take your insulation off. And what I would say to you is don't let them get to the point where they're building queen cells if you're going to make a split. Try and beat them to that. So I would go in, say, as soon as Monday when it's 70 degrees or whatever, and make that split and get ahead of them. Otherwise, you're going to find queen cells and they're going to try and swarm.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely will do that. One other observation, and I've never taken honey off the hive. And I noticed when I go out and sit with them at night that I can smell the honey from about a foot away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's the first time I ever
so
smelled
they're
the honey.
drying that nectar out, and you can pick up the bouquet of that. Yes.
Yeah, smells good.
Yeah, I would.
Um,
If you have another honey super, I would throw it on there. I
a
would be
second one?
two. I would be two honey supers right now.
All right. Yeah, I can do
Yes.
that definitely tomorrow because I'm going to be away for a week.
Okay.
So I might do that tomorrow just before I go.
Yeah. I I wonder if by a week your hive could get to swarm state. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I did not see any queen cells in there, but I know that can change pretty quickly.
Yeah. Like, did you see? Do you have queen cups? Do you know what a cup is?
I, you know what? I took some pictures. I couldn't tell the difference. It was on the bottom of the hive where all the drone comb was.
Yeah.
So I thought, am I mistaking drone comb for a queen cup? Because they weren't like peanuts, they were just kind of
So
fat.
if you see, they tend to build drone in the margins, and they look like a cartridge of bullets that you would see. A queen cup looks like a bowl. It's a bowl shaped.
Mm.
It's flat. And then when they decide to put a queen in it, they want to, they will take the bowl, which is shallow, and they'll start to build it into an actual cup shape. And it will have an opening that's a hole, and the queen's going to go in and lay in that. If it's an open, flat cup, it's just a cup. But when
Okay.
they build it out to where it looks like a big kind of a bowl, a cup more than a bowl, then you know that they're going to get serious about it.
All right. I'll be looking.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Sam, how are you making out this week?
I'm doing great. The bees arrived a couple days early, unexpectedly, at 7:30 in the morning a couple days ago, which I ran to go grab them from the post office before I went to work because I knew I wouldn't get to do it any other day if I didn't do it
Yeah.
right then. Um, I followed your advice and I went back in today in the afternoon and I took out the cork. I tried to just pierce it a little bit, but it ended up coming out when I stuck the needle in there. And
Okay. Yeah.
I checked, the bees immediately started going into the space where the queen was. So I kind of gently put it back in and closed up the hive. But I did notice they already had, it looked like some nectar and some pollen that they were putting into some of the frames. So that made me pretty excited.
Very good. Yeah, sounds like the right path. Um, okay, good. What'd you think of
Um,
field day? Sam came to
it was a
visit.
lot of fun. Yeah, it was exciting. It was really nice to for my wife who had yet to be involved in any type of beekeeping. So I was really impressed with how much she kind of got involved, and she really appreciated you. She mentioned how good of a teacher you were after we got in the car. Um,
Yeah,
so we
we
had a
have a
great
great
time.
crew. All the instructors are really well done.
Hmm.
And in Northwest, we're so blessed from that standpoint.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
awesome. One question I do have for you.
Mhm.
So there were a fair amount of dead bees in the package, which
Yeah.
are now just littering the bottom of the hive box.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
I know the bees will eventually clear those out at some point, but right now we have the entrance reducer, and I was wondering when we go back in, would it make sense when we're going to change the entrance reducer to the next size up to pick up the entire box and just sweep any dead ones off the bottom that are already or that are still in there?
Yeah. Yeah. You could do that and shortcut the process. I would make sure that your bees are flying and bringing in pollen and all that stuff before you disturb them too much that way.
Okay.
Um, they will clean that up. In fact, it gives them something to do, quite honestly. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't fuss too much about that. You'll be surprised. You'll go in one day and they'll all be gone.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I would not want to disturb a new colony until they're really entrenched.
All right. And then we have the entrance reducer right now at the 1 inch, which is what we had. When would you suggest switching it to, I think the next size up is like a 3 inch or something like that
Yeah,
size?
I would leave it that way for a week or so.
Okay.
When you see them start to build comb, and also you'll see bees on the entrance defending the entrance.
Mm.
When you see actively bees standing on the front entrance during the time that the bees are coming and going, and when a bee lands, somebody walks over to it and does whatever, that means that they have now been on guard. And when they're on guard, you do want to open the entrance up just a little bit. Also, we've been having cooler nights,
Mm.
but I think looking at the forecast going out, come Monday, that stops. It'll be low of 50 or so. And with that, you can open that up. But the more heat they can retain inside while they're building honeycomb, the better off you are. So
Uh,
the
s-
one reason you'd want to open that entrance, Sam, is so that they can come and go more easily. If you
mhm.
see a traffic jam at the front entrance, then by all means go ahead and switch it. But I wouldn't be too hasty about having to switch that.
Okay. We have one of the screened bottom boards, and right now I have it closed off with a
Yeah.
insert. And when the weather starts to warm up, was that would when you would suggest taking that insert back out again?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the weather for Hunterdon County, and it shows a low of 40 tomorrow, a low
Mhm.
of 45 Friday, a low of 44 on Saturday, and 39 on Sunday. And then the following week, 56, 55, 61, there's 149 and there's 140 on Friday. But generally, the nighttime temperatures are in the 50s. That's when you're usually clear to open the entrance up a little more if you need to.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a
Cool.
possible 80-degree day coming next Wednesday, which
Mm.
is interesting.
All right. Well, thank you very much for answering the email quickly. I really appreciate it. We were when I opened up the Man Lake thing and I didn't see the sugar cap side and only had one side with a cork, I was very confused.
And that's kind of weird that they don't.
Yeah, I
You
got a
know,
picture
Man
of it
Lake,
just in case.
they've been
But
taking an absolute beating this year with the package deliveries. So you're, did you get your package from them?
yeah, my package, they shipped it on the 25th and it arrived the 27th.
And how many dead bees were in the bottom of the package?
Um,
Was it an inch deep, 2 inches deep?
yeah,
Some
I'd
of
say it
the
was maybe
pictures I've
like around
seen
an
were,
inch deep. It wasn't as
yeah.
bad as the last time we ordered from them, my family, like 3 years ago, and everything was dead. But when I looked at it, I was definitely concerned. But I'd say there was about maybe like an inch. But I also
Some of
think
the
that they may have
pictures I've
been
seen this
cold
year have been
because they're,
atrocious. Like the pile of bees were,
uh,
yeah, from them. How was your experience with your post office? They were good?
oh, they were great. They were shocked. I only live a minute from them, so when I called them and said I'd be there, they looked very confused when I showed up a minute later. I was so excited. I wasn't even
You should have
dressed when
told
I
them I've been
called.
waiting in the parking lot for this call.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay,
Well,
good.
thank
Sounds
you
like you're in a good place.
for now.
Yeah. All right, James Gleason, let's talk to you. See how you're doing.
I'm fine. I don't have much to say. I'm waiting on my nukes, which I'm picking up Sunday, 2 medium nukes. And
Okay.
it's been a bit of a delay. So I was supposed to get them today? No, tomorrow, but
Yeah,
not
James
until
got
Sunday.
baptism by fire. Had him up to his elbows in bees.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
In my colonies that are over at Valley Crest. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
fun.
that was a very nice opportunity for me. So thank you.
My pleasure.
I'll let other people go because I don't have much to say other than that.
Okay. Eileen, how you making out?
Pretty good, I think. I have a 3 stacks right now. One is a package with 2 medium boxes. I have not added a honey super. The other is a split with 2 mediums. I have not added a honey super. And the original hive that I split from, I had sent you pictures if you
Yeah,
remember the crazy
I do.
bearding that was going on. So when I split it, I was left with a deep and a medium. And I immediately put another medium on top of that when I split it, just because there were still so many bees in there.
Yeah.
So that was April 4th that I did that split. I actually took the queen, I found her, and I took her and I put her in the other stack. I went in on April 18th just to peek in.
You muted yourself somehow, Eileen.
Sorry about
There
that.
you go. Yeah.
So when I split it, I added a medium box of drawn comb.
Yeah.
And on the 18th, I went and looked at that top box just to see how crowded it was. And I pulled some frames out, and there's a lot of honey, but there was also drone brood.
Oh,
And
really?
I can't figure out how that's possible when it was only 2 weeks since I pulled that queen. Now I saw some drone brood.
That's weird.
I opened it up. They didn't have purple eyes, but they were definitely well formed. You could see that it was a bee. I can't figure out I don't know what's going on because it was only 2 weeks since I pulled the queen out. So how is that possible?
And
this
those
was,
boxes, that's a brand new box, right? You put it
it's a
on
brand
after
new
you
box
pulled.
that I put on when I split it.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that one. You
So
get yourself in some very interesting situations.
I know, right?
Every year
I
we have these
know.
conversations like, how did you manage this? I can't say I've ever heard that.
I can't figure out how that's
Unless
even
so
possible.
this is the one thing I want to say, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. Worker bees, we talk about laying workers. Workers can deposit an egg, but they don't have the female equipment to fertilize the egg. There are always, contrary to what we think, laying workers in the population. More than we think is possible. One, they exist, and two, they're there. But what ends up happening is they lay an egg, and a worker comes by and looks at the egg and goes, the queen didn't do this. Somebody else did it, and they cannibalize or take the egg out and get rid of it. And while this is going on all the time, the workers are thwarting your understanding of this even happening. What do you know?
Love that
But
guy's
but in the case of
Yeah.
your thing, maybe some of those workers actually got up in there and laid some of them. How many are you talking about? How many cells?
Well,
Handful
when I
or?
saw it, I didn't go too far into it because I was just, I didn't want to open up too much of it because my original idea was I'm going to leave this stack alone. There's plenty of bees in there. I'm
Yeah.
going to wait like a month before I open it up to make sure to establish
Which
a
is the right
queen.
play, right? If they're going to make a
Yeah.
queen, leave them for a month, come back and check them.
Yeah, that was my plan. But then I saw these drones. I only saw a few, but as I didn't go far into it, so there could have been a lot. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
for curiosity's sake, because you discovered that, I would go take a peek and see what's going on in there. Just out of curiosity, I thought what you're going to tell me, and I want everybody to hear this out loud. When you take a queen and resources and other things out, and you put them in a nuke box, make a split like Eileen did. Typically, what you'll find when you put a honey super on is lots of nectar. Because all the nurse bees are now unemployed. There's no queen laying eggs, and there's nothing for them to do. And the conversion into forager workforce happens. And a colony where you pull the split, they get into cleaning up the house. They take care of cleaning up all the cells. They get rid of dead bees that are on the bottom board. They do all kinds of housekeeping, and they make a lot of honey a lot of times. I made a split, and I think James can attest to this. There's a colony in there making its own queen, and when we pulled the top box off, it was loaded with nectar already in a week. So yeah, I'd take a peek at that somewhere down the road, Eileen, and tell us at the next meeting. Make notes. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that one. You should make a memoir of the interesting situations in your beach. I don't know what it is about the water over there in Pittstown.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I want yeah, anything else? I don't want to.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Pauline?
Hi. So I have 2 hives that came through winter, and I don't have my notes are downstairs, but I ended up doing a walkaway split on each one because I couldn't find the queen,
Okay.
and I was going to try to do a demarray, but that didn't happen. So right now I've kind of left them alone. I'm waiting for like 3 weeks to see. So I haven't really been in them with the weather, the rain, but the one hive, the two main hives, they were doing really well, but I have all 8 frame mediums. So the one stack is like, when I did the inspection, it's 5 high, and I'm 5'3". And so it's really difficult. And I know when I looked in the top frames, I saw, nectar and all, but I also saw capped brood. So I'm wondering, with the flow on now here, at least in Maryland, from what I'm told, am I going to have to put on another box and to get, and yeah, so I'm not really sure how to try to rearrange or condense maybe some of the nectar / brood frames to bring them down. I don't know. I guess because I have the 8 frame mediums, it's kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, so if you have the 8 frame mediums and you're running mediums through your whole stack, mind you,
Yeah.
on the bottom you're -2. On the second one, you're -2. On the third one, you're -2. That's 6 frames. That's more than half of a typical box. And if you put 2 honey supers over it, that's 4 more or less. So the amount of space they have to put things in with 5 is 10 frames missing. What's 10 frames? You're going to add another 8 frame box and you're still not there. That's the trade-off of running an 8 frame medium. Because if you did 8 frame deeps in the brood nest and then mediums over, it's not that much different, honestly. So you'd be faced with a situation of either putting more on top or harvesting what you have. That's just the nature of running 8-frame mediums.
So yeah, so I guess the ones that are mixed with brood and nectar, it's not like I can harvest them.
No, they're the bottom three, or has the
No, they're
queen
on the
come up?
top. They were in the top box. They were up. I mean, I have, there's.
Did you do a
all of
reversal
them.
at some point?
I did. Oh God, end of March, maybe.
Yeah.
I did, and I don't use an excluder, so I guess that's on me. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I may not get that much.
It would
if
be
they don't feed.
atypical for her to lay all the way through the 5 boxes. That's really just not usual. But if you do find that to be the case, guess what? You kind of did a Dame Marie. You've got your building at the top of the box. You could make sure your queen is down below in the bottom 3 boxes, and then put a queen excluder in and let the brood run its course. So as the season goes on, it corrects the situation. And they end up keeping the brood nest down below because they have no choice under the excluder. And then secondarily, they'll replace all that brood with food, and eventually you'll have honey supers to have. So,
But not this season, maybe. I
well,
mean,
you can still do it.
could.
Go
Okay.
make sure, go find your queen if you can. And if she happens to be in the bottom 3 and you do have brood in the top boxes, then constrain her to the bottom, put a queen excluder in. Do you have a queen excluder?
I do. I bought them. I mean, I didn't want to use them, but I think occasionally I'm gonna have to if this happens again, like you said, especially with the 8-frame.
This is the thing that nobody talks about with 8-frame equipment. And I have 8-frame boxes. Try them just so I know. I don't have 8-frame mediums. But even with 2 deeps, 8-frame, you're only missing 4 frames from the conventional setup. That brood nest can get stacked. And the queen, probably, I said before, she's not going to cross across the honey dome, but if she's out of space and she's going to want to lay, she'll look up there and go, well, you didn't give me enough space, and I want more. I'm going to go take it. Do they typically go to the top of the stack? They generally don't. But in the case of yours, she didn't read the book, apparently. So,
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to force her down. You have to go down and put a queen excluder and keep her down there. But even 3 8-frame mediums, think about it from a square footage standpoint. That doesn't equate to 2 deeps in any way, which is, why is it 2 deeps? Who came up with that? They came up with that because 99% of the time, an operational Apis mellifera queen from Europe will occupy 2 brood chambers and not go above that. And beekeepers, for the sake of weight, went to 8 frames and then to mediums and messed with the formula. Your 4 8-frame mediums is really equivalent to a 2 deep, if you think about it. It's less weight for you, and I understand why you did it, but
And so
then,
if I
then
went
the
to
question comes with your situation is, do I really want to get on a ladder? No, I don't.
no.
Yeah.
And so if I would eventually go to 8-frame deeps, the difference would only be maybe a box difference.
The only thing listen, let's just plant this seed and you could chew on it for a while. You don't have to make a decision. Maybe you take 2 of those mediums at the bottom of your 8-frame and swap it out for 1 deep. And give them a little more space. And maybe you can get away with 1 deep and a medium. And you very rarely are going to go all the way to the bottom board and get in that bottom, have to take that box off. You won't lift it. It'll still be in place. You can inspect the bottom box and have it a deep and give your queen a couple more inches of space to build a brood nest. and see if you can challenge her not to go up higher.
Well, they're not as heavy anyway, kind of. I mean, full.
They're not, but if it's on the bottom board, why
Yeah,
would you have to
doesn't
take it
matter.
off? You don't.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I've seen a couple people who run all mediums run into this problem. Not as common, but it happens. And the way to get around it's the same advice. Put it deep on the bottom board because you're not taking the box off to inspect it. You're at the bottom. And then put mediums over top of it. So just plant that seed, consider that option.
Except for, yeah, well, then you have,
If you got to clean the bottom board
Mediums.
off or whatever, you might
Yeah, that's
take
fine.
it off. But other than that, how often do you do that? Once a season, maybe.
right, but it's a difference of the different frames of deep versus medium frames.
Understood. And
And I have, that's a
that's a
transition.
trade-off, right?
That, or I leave it that way and use that they'll theoretically build drone on the bottom. And it's a way of, if I use medium frames in a deep, they generally build
Yeah, they'll build
drone.
they'll build wonky comb and all kinds of
Oh.
fun stuff for you down there. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know that I would do that.
Okay. So it's still a transition to have some
But
deep.
again, when you
frames,
have
medium
10, when
frames.
you have 8-frame deeps, they'll be basically resident. You won't be needing to swap those around and do things with them. They're strictly going to be brood chamber boxes, and that's it. And they can always stay resident over the bottom. You'd never have to change them. You have the interchangeability of everything that's above it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's different systems that they run in other nations, like, for example, the Perone hive and other things where they build a big brood chamber and they say that's the brood chamber and it's never going to change and I'm never going to mess with it. And that's the way they leave it. The interchangeability comes from what comes above it, right? Meaning the honey supers and or whatever you have. So make yourself a resonant 8-frame deep at the bottom and never move it.
Okay.
Sometimes you might get into a situation for a management thing where you go, darn, this isn't going to work, but that's few and far between. You'll be able to work that out.
It's okay. It's just figuring out the transition to, a
Yeah.
deep, on the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Jason? Check in on you.
Can you hear me?
Can now, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm actually kind of, same as Pauline. I'm running 8-frame mediums for all of my boxes, and I had 2 hives that made it through winter, and one of them was exploding. I think I talked about it with you before.
Yeah.
In one of these meetings. And about a month ago, I did a walkaway split on that one. And I went in a couple of weeks after I did that walkaway split. I did not know which hive ended up with the queen. And in one of the funny thing is when I went in and looked in both boxes a couple of weeks later, I had queen cells in both boxes.
Okay. Yeah, that happens sometimes.
But there was one of them that didn't have any new brood. So I figured that's the one that did not have the queen.
And this was about, what, 30 days ago?
So I did the split about 30 days ago, about a month ago. And this was a couple of weeks ago that I went in to look and see how they're doing. Now that hive that didn't have the queen was bringing in nectar like crazy. And it's been weird here in North Carolina. We've had a drought for the last month and a half.
Yeah.
With very, very little rain. And so a lot of the beekeepers here are not seeing a whole lot of nectar coming into their hives. But on the other hand, there are a few like me that I'm getting tons of nectar. And so like I had for my brood chamber, I had 4 medium boxes, 8-frame medium boxes. And the top box was solid capped honey. And so I threw out a couple more boxes, and I'm actually going to go harvest honey this weekend because when I went in and last week and checked all 3 of my hives now, they all have at least one box that's full of capped honey.
Yeah. Okay. I would expect that for you, right? You're
so
typically harvesting honey, what, 1st of June?
normally I'm harvesting in the middle of June. It's normally I harvest in the middle of June.
Okay.
And so I'm going to harvest now because one of the hives when I went in and looked last week was getting pretty honey bound or
Okay.
nectar bound, and there's not a whole lot of space for the brood, and so I'm going to go ahead and harvest, and I'll put the boxes back on. And I'll probably have a second harvest, assuming the drought doesn't impact me too much. I have I'm very active in my local bee group, and there are, like I said, there are some beekeepers that are not seeing any nectar at all coming in, and then there's others like me that are seeing a lot of nectar coming in.
Yeah, conditional. Okay.
And they're saying basically, one of the guys has electronic scale on his hive, so he's monitoring how much honey they're bringing in, and he says in his hives they're leveling off. They have been bringing honey in, but they're not. The last few days they've kind of leveled off the amount of honey that they're bringing in, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm harvesting this weekend, because I figure I might as well pull it before the bees start going into it themselves.
So let me ask you, you have 8-frame mediums, just like Pauline just said.
Mm-hmm.
What do they typically occupy? Is it 4 boxes for the brood chamber?
So typically it's actually 3 boxes.
Okay.
Now I had 4 boxes on it, but like I said, that top box they completely filled with it's got capped honey in it. And I've got 2 more honey supers that I put on top of it. So right now that hive has 6 boxes in it.
Well, and I would expect that. So I would think that I know that 3 10-frame mediums is a little smaller than 2 deeps, if I remember this right. So if you're running 8 frames, I would expect the brood nest to carry 3 and likely go into the 4th. And then above the 4th one would be honey supers in an 8-frame, not 10-frame.
Right.
The other thing that I'll say to you is it's 30 days from the time that queen egg is put in a cell. She gets capped, she emerges, she does her thing, to being a viable queen where she starts to lay. 30-ish plus. So if you did a walkaway split 30 days ago, any moment now you should see a queen back and laying eggs.
So
then 21 days from now you'll have your first generation of bees emerging.
I did see when I went in this last week, I did see some eggs and larvae.
Okay.
So I know I do have a queen.
So mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for everybody else who's up here in the Northeast with us and not in North Carolina where Jason is, we're probably 2 weeks behind you, right? And
right.
If we had a walkaway split that we did in the last week or so, it'll be 30 days till that queen gets mated, comes back and starts to lay eggs.
Well,
So
like I said, my concern was that they were bringing so much nectar in that they were nectar bound that there's probably there wasn't a lot of room for that queen to be laying eggs and stuff like that. So that's another one of the reasons why I'm pulling honey off. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm a fan of doing, okay, let's have that conversation. I don't like to put boxes on top. If I need a ladder to get the boxes off, the heavy boxes from the top of a stack, it makes a pretty picture, but it's just not a great look for standing on a ladder trying to pull a 60-pound box off. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, what's it mean when you pull it off? Within 48 hours, you have to harvest that honey.
Right.
Or freeze it or do something with it. Right. So
I'm well aware of that.
When you get in that situation, and this is not something we typically talk about here yet, but you got to have a plan. And you make a decision. Well, sometimes if it's not harvest time, then guess what? You're going to throw another box on the top and you're going to live with that.
So I was actually at one of our local bee supply stores today getting jars and stuff like that. So I'm
yes.
ready, you know.
Yeah, I actually have it queued up for the May conversation to go, okay, it's almost honey season. Do you have your jars and all that, right? I was thinking today, like, was I going to talk about that today? I feel like it's a little early, but for you, you're the precursor to everything we're going to talk about next month.
So, but no, it's exciting. This yeah, at least based on what I saw last week when I went into the hives, this will be the biggest honey harvest that I've had.
Good for you. Nice.
And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm expecting that from these 3 hives in this harvest that I'll probably get at least 8 gallons of honey and probably more than that.
Good for you. Good. All right. Keep us apprised of the situation down there, Jason. We're curious. And there, Pauline, if you want to know about A-frames, Jason's your guy. He's ahead of your curve, right? So he could tell you what the future looks like. So yeah. All right, let's go to Chris. How are you doing tonight?
Very good, thank you. I joined late tonight, so I'm sorry about that. But one question I do have, I've got several queen cups which aren't filled yet. If I want to make a split, am I better off waiting till the queen cup gets filled or make the split now?
If they have brood in all stages, bias, meaning they have eggs and larvae across a large number, you can make the split now and they'll pick one of those. But a lot of beekeepers, personal preference, do like to see queen cells get started because those are queens that the bees were trying to raise. And I have to come back to what Jessica posted. She was right. A queen cell, queen cup, looks like a bowl. A queen cell looks like an upside down mini wine glass, like a coupe glass, if you're familiar with those. That was a great description, Jessica. The one thing I would say about making the split is the quicker they build a queen during the height of the season, the better off you are. So I would kind of factor that into the decision.
So it'll happen tomorrow.
And also the
Thanks.
temperature. Lately, what's really weird is it's been a cool. We had that one super warm run here in the Northeast, and then it cooled down again. And I think it'll get more towards normal temperatures next week. So, where are you, Chris? I forget where you're at.
I'm in Warren County.
Okay. Yeah, so you should be good to do a split. What you want to do, though, when you make the split is make sure that you're going to take the queen out, I'm assuming, and do a conventional split. Make sure that you leave the origin colony with enough resources that they can carry on with no compromise.
Okay.
Yeah, don't make a split of a mediocre hive. Make sure it has abundant resources. One thing I didn't talk about earlier when you make a split, and I went through that, take a traditional split out, is when you pull the queen and resources and you put her in a nuke box, you take that away and put it away. The original colony has all the original bees, nurse bees, foragers, drones, so on. When you make a split, if you don't take that split away 3 miles, it's possible that the older population going to come out of that colony, and instead of going back in with the queen, who they're not loyal to, they're loyal to their original colony, they'll fly over and go back in the original one. So there are times when you make a split and you move it away. If you leave it in your local apiary, the older bees will come out, and when they have an option of going back, home is back where they started, and they'll go back in where home was. And you'll find the population dwindles. Is it the end of the world? Generally not. One, because we stacked it with a frame of capped brood that's going to emerge and make up for that population. And they have the queen who's going to lay eggs, and she's going to recover for any population loss. There'll just be a smaller start to it. If you really want to get that colony off to a good start, you'll take it away to a friend's beekeeping yard or someplace else. let it get going. And then if you want, you can bring it back and put it in your home yard. So keep those things in mind, Chris, when you make your split there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Annetta?
Hello. So I have two beehives over the winter, and they were doing great. So approximately a month ago, I actually went in and I took a look inside. So each of the beehives has two deeps and one medium. And I was just talking to one of the beekeeper because, usually over the winter, the bees move up. So I wanted to make sure that that I may need to like move some frames around. But that was not the case. To my surprise, all three levels, both in both of the beehives, all the boxes were filled with honey, brood, everything up to the wazoo. So, so I didn't have to move anything. That was one that was like really warm and all. So instead, again, we have to be cautious of Verona. So I put Epivar strips into my two of my brood boxes in each of the beehives. And I left that medium, which was really filled with just honey, which was unusual that they had entire medium super filled with honey. But I left it in there. Now I know that I cannot, pull the honey from that because of Aptivar.
Right.
But what I before I finished working in a beehives, I pulled some of the honey frames off in each of the beehives and I replaced it with empty ones just so I wanted to give them some room to grow whatever they were doing because they were already full.
Okay.
And I didn't want to add anything else because I'm having Aptivar, treatment for another, well, now it's going to be 4 weeks, so another 2 weeks, right? So at least 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
So that's what I've done. I have a lot of bees. Thank God, blessed. Yeah, and obviously my concern is that they may want to pack their bags and half of the beehive take off. So I have it for probably now over a month. I have put out because I have a lot of auto equipment. So I put out a lot of three different spots, alt equipment with drone with some of the cones and everything, and I'm putting some lemongrass oil a little bit to incentivize them to pick that place. But yeah, I'm trying to go with that assumption versus doing a split. Yes, I can do a split, but when I was reviewing the bees a month ago, I didn't see any queen cells. I did see a lot of drone cells. Obviously, that's normal. And I decided that I don't want it to weaken the colony. Instead, I want to do this naturally. Probably going to pay for it and regret, but I'm experimenting. So if they do take off, I have my traps set up. In the meantime, I'm just monitoring. So I seen a lot of pollen going in, so I know I have a queen. I couldn't find the queen when I was reviewing all the boxes. So I know that I have a capable queen, and I did see brood, obviously, so that was not my concerns over the winter, so that's good. So I'm just monitoring to make sure, that they don't run out of space for right now. And I don't know what to do because it's been cold last, I don't know, a week or
You
so.
got so many bees, that's probably not a concern.
Yeah, so I think they're good with resources, obviously, but I mean they cannot be pulling and completely running out of space at this point, I mean, they probably, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
So
just trying to
when
think.
you went through winter,
Yeah.
2 deeps and the medium on top
Yep.
with honey in it.
Yep.
Okay. And you
Yep.
came out of winter. Did you say that the bees were up in the top box in
The
that medium,
bees,
right?
a month ago when I was going through my beehives, because I wanted to make sure that, the bottom wasn't empty, every single box was filled with bees, brood, and honey.
Okay. And so that's characteristic. Let's just stop there for a second and
Yeah.
say bees are going to move up.
Right.
They're not going to stay in the brood chamber boxes when you have a honey super on. They're going to go all the way up to the top and go up
Okay.
where the warmth is.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the perils of going through winter with a medium on top is that you'll find the bees in there. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to get them out of there, you take that box and you put
Mm-hmm.
it down over the bottom and put a queen excluder and make sure the queen's above it. Let all the brood emerge and then take the box off and collapse it down to 2. Now you put Apivar in and you know that you can't have honey supers. Did you use Apivar 1 or Apivar 2?
Oh, crap.
Is it the new one or did you
I
have
think
all?
it's the 2. I got it from Styles. I think it's the
You got
2.
them this year?
Yeah. I
Okay,
got
then
them.
that's 2.
I got them a couple days before, I went and actually put them in. So yeah,
Okay.
they're
So
from
you
this year.
42 days for a treatment of Apivar, up
Mm-hmm.
to 56 days to get the full treatment.
Okay.
And then after 56 days, with new Apivar 2, read the label, but I'm pretty sure you can put honey supers on right away, if I remember
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
So
so too.
you should count the days physically, like if you're going 42, like 40, 41, 42, 43, put honey supers on as soon as you can, just to
Yeah.
relieve the congestion and also to get a honey crop. If you're going the full 56 days, then it's 54, 55, 56, boom, put the honey supers on, right? Your choice.
So you're saying 42 days? Yeah. I mean, I put it very early. Yeah, so it's going to be coming up to 1 month.
Yeah, so
So,
the typical
so
treatment
2
for
months.
Apivar to run its
Mhm.
full course
Yeah.
is 42 to 56 days. 42 is the minimum. If you want to get the full advantage of the
Right.
product, 56. But in your case, you probably want to do honey, so you go with the smaller window. And at 42 days, say good enough is perfect.
Okay.
And then put your honey supers on. 1 to
Okay.
relieve congestion, and 2 so you can start to build a honey crop while there's still you're
Yeah.
going to be 14 2 weeks more of honey collection during the season, which is what you're after. So, and then make sure somehow that you mark those frames of the honey super that you don't harvest them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Do something.
obviously, it's a matter of the medium, right? Because the
Yeah.
brood, it stays always that way. But absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, do I have to really worry? I mean, I don't think they're really bringing anything in besides pollen, and
Oh
and
no,
right now,
they're loading that with nectar, I'm sure.
now they do.
Oh
You
yeah.
think in
Yeah,
New
the nectar
Jersey?
flow is on like crazy. Yes.
Oh shit. So, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy. So they
here's the other thing, and
definitely,
I don't mean
yeah.
to dissuade you, but if you find that you'd rather get to honey making, Apivar runs its course in the beginning rather quickly, and then it kind of meters out for the rest.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a lot of varroa mites in there anyway. And so you can cut it short, and you probably would be none the worse for the wear.
Okay.
But if you want to
Yeah.
get your full value out of it, 42 days. Now, one thing to know about Apivar is the Amitraz resistance has been documented very well. I don't know how well it is even as a product for killing varroa mites, but Apivar 2 is supposed to be a new formula, everybody. And the new formula is supposed to do better than the old formula, which which the mites have become resistant to. But the makers of the product say the new ingredients are proprietary and they don't want people to know what it is. They just say, trust us, it works. It still has Apivar in it. Or I'm sorry, it still has Amitraz in it, but it has other things that are also supposed to kill varroa mites. So we're waiting to hear from the industry whether this Apivar 2.0 actually rebounds and becomes a viable product. But so many people are now gun shy at the fact that Amitraz is resistant that they may not do what Aneta did, which is try the product out, see whether it actually works. They just assume they can go to oxalic acid or something else. So,
Well, the oxalic acid, I mean, it doesn't really work on the brood itself, right? And then we are building the brood right now. So, like, I think the only option that I had was Apivar, and then including the temperatures that we're, encountering around that time. So, to me, it was presented as Apivar was the only option at the time that I was putting it in, because I was
there's
not a
another
big
thing to
fan.
say to you,
Yeah.
Aneta, about using that product
Yeah.
is that have you gone in and moved it around at all?
Move what?
The strips.
I put them in and that's it. I didn't. What do you
Yeah.
mean moving them around?
So they recommend that halfway through your 42 days
Oh
or
no,
56 days, you
I
go
did not.
in and take them out, scraped off the propolis, and reposition them and make sure that they're in the middle of the brood nest. That's in the instructions to ensure that it's a contact miticide. And you
Right.
want to make sure that the bees are coming into contact with it. And sometimes when you put it down between the frames, it favors and lays against this frame, and they only get half of the dose because they can only get to one side of it. And
I
so
see what
they
you're saying.
and they cover it with propolis, and
Mhm.
therefore it's not being accessed. So
Yeah,
in order
that's
to
basically
get all you can out of the product, you're supposed to take it out halfway, scrape it, and reposition it. So just keep that in mind.
okay. Thank you for sharing that, and that makes sense. And I was actually thinking about it when I was putting it in because the strips were awfully long, so they
Yeah.
were actually kind of collapsing. And I'm like, no, they should be really the length of the deep. And so, I was scratching my head and trying to reposition it, but now it makes sense. And so I think that's a big flawed.
I would love to hear what your take is because you're the first one I heard of all my beekeeper friends that tried
Mhm.
Apivar 2.0. You're the first.
Okay,
I would love to know
take a
what
look
your
at it.
outcome is later this year.
It's I've been approached by different beekeepers because I seek out obviously a lot of guidance. I'm very new to it. Everybody has their own, I guess, and uh, opinion about
Yeah.
things. And the one thing that resonates with me is the mites kill, the mites kill, the mites kill. And so, I mean, I do my diligence. I mean, I'm watching my beehives. If I'm not there daily, I'm there every other day. And I
Yeah.
monitor the water. I'll make sure that they get this done and that. If it gets cold overnight, I make sure that, like try to get them warm and things. But the one thing that it resonates with me is the mites, right? The mites will desecrate the whole colony. So like last year I had help and we were checking through my hives. It was during late summer and my mite wash was 0. I still went ahead and I had a treatment for folic acid before the winter started. Now when I was going through the beehives, it was a lot of bees when I was doing this a month ago. And so my initial response was, okay, I'm going to do the mite wash. But then I didn't because it was just, it was a lot of frames to move. And I was advised to go and start
Yeah.
reviewing each frame. I was not expecting to be spending a couple hours with my husband going through this. And we weren't really even doing anything. And then we just needed it to do the Apivar. So, I didn't do a mite wash. I didn't really see like damage drones, that they were, in the process
And
of
again, coming out of
that.
winter,
Yeah.
the varroa mites shouldn't have been that
Okay.
detrimental for you. What you're doing is more prophylactic than
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, let us know how that goes, and we're gonna move on to the next person. But
Okay.
yeah, be curious to hear how your experience goes. So let's go to Jessica. You're on mute, Jessica.
Oh, I'm in my shed
Oh, there you
because
go. You doing
I've
bee
been
work
in
in there, are you?
yeah, hardware, like woodenware maintenance because
Yeah,
I was
good.
at the computer all day long, and then of course it's raining. So let's see. I had a very interesting month, a little bit of everything. I had the two colonies coming out of winter, and actually to speak to mites, I had one hive that had a mite bomb last October
Okay.
at what should have been like the final mite wash. And then they were very, very infested. They had like a 10% infestation rate. And then I hit them off with 2 pads of Formic Pro for the double deep. And it didn't look like they were necessarily going to survive the winter, but guess what? Then they did. And
Good.
then that queen came out slamming in February and March. And so then at the very beginning of this month, they were ready definitely for a split. And then actually, I was pulling resources from them to kind of try to equalize with the other hive. And
Okay.
then I was able to get a mated queen because I wanted to introduce, some outside genetics and not just like have them make their own at this point yet. So I did that on the 11th. The queen was introduced successfully. They
Good.
took to her very nicely. And then that definitely helped with their swarm impulse because they had had drone brood galore for like 2 to 3 weeks, and as well as like mature drones and lots of queen cups. So I went in like twice and clean up the queen cups just to like buy more time for when it was possible to do the nuke split.
Okay.
And then took them off site, brought them back. Now they're reorienting here and doing pretty good with their mated queen. Also, because like queens are very hard to what would you call? Some will be more successful. You just never know what their clock is.
Yeah, right.
And then speaking of which, so then with the other hive, there was a supersedure. It should have been a perfect supersedure between a mother and a daughter. But then I think the daughter was so late in the season that she didn't get mated well enough.
Okay.
And so at the very beginning of the spring, she laid like a patch of eggs. But then there was our weather kept going up and down. And even though they were insulated, they just decided to just abort that larvae, and it was on the bottom board. And then since then, it's just been like drones in that hive.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, I was pulling over resources. And then at which point it's clear that, I gave them more weeks of extensions to see if, the queen would kick in. But then I got a chance to play around with QMP temp pheromone, which I had gotten from
Hold them
Better
together.
Bee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could really see them respond to that because as soon as I put the lure up at the top of the frames, they came over and started investigating it and, moving around the rest of the brood nest.
So where's the colony now? You have no queen in it?
So, right, no queen, no sign of the queen either. So, she could have just exited on her own into the
Okay.
grass or something like that. And then in the next warm day, because now our weather is like up and down again, then I
Yeah.
will combine those bees into one of the other. Well, it'll be 3 hives. So I've got the big hive. I think I'll give them back to the big hive because then, they have more honey production potential in there. And then I've got like the nuke split. And then I actually have another nuke that I'm picking up tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a mixed bag of tricks going on there, and it
Yeah.
sounds like you have a plan for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's trying to stay like, a step ahead of them and keep tabs of what they're up to figure out, what you need to do next. Cause there's always something after an inspection where it's like, well, got to research that or plan for that. Yeah. Yeah. And then I also got to play around with the drone brood frame. Since they were making so much drone brood anyways on the larger hive, I put in one of the frames. It was a medium in a deep slot. And then, first they made comb underneath it. And then within about 3 weeks or so, they had drawn it out enough. And then those drones were just starting to be on the edge of hatching. And then I pulled that. And
so you didn't use a green drone brood frame. You used a medium frame and let them build drone underneath, and then you culled it off.
It was a green medium drone brood frame.
A green, okay.
Yeah.
In a deep.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just because that had been given to me. And so I was like, well, I'll use it and then see,
Did they
what
build
they
drone
do
on the
it.
green part?
Yes. Yeah. So they have drone solidly on both sides. And then, comb hanging down that was also drone brood as well. And so then I, pulled that and started, investigating, am I finding any Varroa inside, the caps, and it was all clear. So
that's good.
And then it's just weird because that was the hive that I would have thought least likely to survive the winter, and, that the mites might still be in there.
It's
Although,
so crazy, isn't it? You never know how that works.
Yeah. They did get 3 rounds of OA during the winter. So,
that'll do it.
Yeah. Right. So I think they just had just enough population left, and the queen was still, because she was a supersedure from last summer.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think she's just young enough that,
she'll come out gangbusters. It's not the queen that's the problem. It's the conditions. And if she's in good conditions, she can probably do well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what she's doing.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold. We can come back to you if you had more, but I want to make sure, because I see people are dropping off. It is 9:00. I want to get to Nancy.
Okay.
And just check in with you.
So,
you're the last one.
Am I?
I believe so.
Oh, can you see me? Because I can't see
Yeah.
you. Oh, okay, I see. So I want to thank Jessica for coming to help me. And oh my God, so I have the new Apame boxes. And I need to tell you, Kevin, as much as I love the hardware, it is a bitch, pardon the expression, everyone, to put in the frames. Because it's a 7 frame, it's not 8.
Yeah.
And it's so skin tight. So skin
Are you
tight.
using the plastic stuff that they gave you?
Yeah, it's so difficult. I'm
Yeah.
so afraid. I'm panicking. And Jessica and I spent like a good hour skimming the what is it, the frames from the whatever propolis
The
there
propolis
was.
off
Yeah,
the
scraping
shoulders?
the propolis off the shoulders just to make more room.
So
Run one
difficult.
frame less. I was just in mine today. I have 2 new ones this year. Not new, but somebody gave me 2 and I'm using them. And I have the same experience. They're heavy as could be too, aren't they? The
Yeah.
actual boxes are absurdly heavy.
Yeah. So now I'm worried. How do you know? So then I called the manufacturer, and the woman who I got it from, Sarah, and she said, run a wooden and a plastic, a wooden and a plastic. That's
Okay.
what I should do.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah. And so, yeah, oh God.
Why
Those
did she
are-
tell you that? What was the
to make it easy to pull and inspect.
okay?
Okay?
I'm
Yeah.
not running any of the plastic ones. I put wood frames in there. I have the plastic ones, but none are built out. And I had drawn comb for wood, so I put wood in it. But I'm curious. I have plastic, and when the colony. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm going through. I
Tell
have a
me.
queenless colony. I put a queen in it, and they rejected her. I found her today. She was palled. Somebody gave me a brand new queen from Better Bee, and I put it in that colony and they didn't take it. They balled her and stung her and killed her and she's dead. But I wanted to build that colony so I could build the plastic frames. And you're doing plastic, so you're ahead of me. And I'm curious as to how that's going to go with you. So your plastic frames are drawn already?
No, right? No. Well, I just got a nuke, right?
Yeah.
Monday. And
You
thank
put
you
the 5 frames in from the nuke
into
and then surrounded it with the plastic frames from Apame and it's super tight.
how did we do that, Jessica? It came with 5 frames.
We had to do some alternating
Yeah.
of like the existing wooden frames and then adding in, you know, like one plastic frame per box or two if we could manage it.
Yeah. I guess, just keep playing with it. You'll figure it out. That's
Yeah.
part of the run
So
one frame less. Those frames are a little narrower, the plastic ones than regular, right? If I
yes,
remember.
They are.
So here's the thing. I found so the nukes are doing okay. My bees did well over the winter. As of yesterday, I find that they're guarding the front entrance a lot. What does that mean again?
It just means that they have resources and they're going to guard what they have.
Ah, well, I wasn't sure because I thought that was kind of odd. And the entrance of
They
the
go on
apple.
guard duty when they have something to guard. In the wintertime, they just are worried about getting established. But once they are operational, they'll guard the front.
Okay, next thing. So the Apame has two circles, right? For
Yeah.
entrance and the sliding bars. Also has the 2 circles in the back. Should I close
Seriously.
them? Should I close the back off?
I would close the back and only leave the front open.
Okay, then I'll do that. I'll do that
So
tonight.
mind you, that colony, that box, the colony inside is a full-size colony, but they have a divider that comes with that box as the kit, and you could run a front and back, which is why it has all those entrance options. But as a
Oh.
conventional hive, you really only want the bottom entrance open in the front. You can open
Okay.
that middle one, but I would close it.
All right, I'll go and do that now while I can.
Yeah, don't open the back one because you're going to stand behind the hives and the bees are going to be coming and going and you'll be standing in their flight path and you'll get stung.
Yeah.
Close that back one.
What else do I need to tell? So that's really it. It's a tight fit. And then I'm gonna start feeding next week. The nukes
Mm-hmm.
next week, and I might change the position of where they are, and I'll do that at night. Other than that, I think I'm okay. Nervous, but okay.
Yeah, well, that's the fun of beekeeping season. So I think I got to everyone, and I see, we've dwindled down to a handful of people. If anybody has questions, not kicking you out, Nancy, but I just want to say thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Anything else, Nancy?
No, thank you. Thank you for that help.
Yeah. Any open questions? Anybody left want to talk about anything, stuff you got going on, things you've seen? If you're a Northwestern, know that we just had our meetings. We have another one coming up in May. There'll also be another field day in May. You can go look at that. And the state meeting is coming up for Raritan Valley Beekeepers Association is hosting the New Jersey State meeting coming up too. So go look at the NJBA website for stuff that's going on. And yeah, it's been an interesting season so far. Mixed bag, a whole bunch of different things going on.
Yeah, the state meeting is this Saturday co-hosted by Raritan Valley and Morris Somerset. So in Morris County.
Yeah, I have a conflict and I can't go. So.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. I did get to everybody, right? I'm looking at the names. Yeah. I I've had a lot of fun this season with different things that you don't typically see, like the queen that I was just telling you about. Um, Queen cells all over the place. They're going
Did they
crazy with it.
did they ball the queen like right
Yeah.
away? Oh,
No, they went in
or
and
after releasing her.
so I have one of those bars that's like 4 inches high and it has
Mm-hmm.
a cage thing in the middle.
Oh,
And you
okay.
take her out of the little queen cage and you put her
Uh-huh.
inside that thing and you set it in with some attendants
Mm-hmm.
and you let them get acclimated to her and then you flip the door open and she can come out. Well, they all went in to
Mm-hmm.
her
Mm-hmm.
and I found that they balled her inside that device.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So the somebody on Facebook sent a message. I have 2 Carniolan queens I
Mm-hmm.
bought from Better Bee, and I'm not going to use them. Does anybody want them? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I need a queen for that. I'm sure I'll go get them. When I went and got them, he said to me, "You need to put these right in a hive. They've been
Mm-hmm.
out forever." So who knows what that means?
Mm-hmm.
And they were so covered in sugar water that they were encased, and all the attendants inside the cage were dead, drowned.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
much sugar water they had given them. So
Huh.
I was pretty dubious as to whether this queen was going to be
Mm-hmm.
how long she's been out and not laying and whatever. And I think she just wasn't good enough. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Right. Could have been like a temperature issue too. Like
could be they
if
could
she
have had
hadn't
her
stayed
sitting on the
warm.
kitchen table. Who knows how they handled her.
Oh
So
gosh.
the
Yeah.
other one I put in a colony, and I'm hoping it took because they seem to like her.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. I'll go check that colony when on the first warm day and see whether they accepted her or not. So
Mm-hmm.
never know what you're going to
Yeah.
get, like a box of chocolates.
Right. It's a mystery until like, the time is right to
Yeah.
take a look and see what they decided.
Yeah. My boss is a beekeeper and he had a bear come and whack one of his hives. And he had a bear fence and he took it down because he hadn't seen a bear forever.
Uh-huh.
And now he's putting a bear fence up and he had to take all his colonies and move them to a place while he's waiting for the bear fence to be shipped. So
Uh-huh.
bears have been pretty active this year in
Mm.
Jersey. I've seen them. Keep that in mind, everybody. Not that you want another thing to worry about, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I heard about that too in Mercer County.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
was one in East Emil Township where I am.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, knock on wood. You just don't ever know if you're going to be the one. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, everybody. It's 10 after 9. Here's about 10 minutes late, but we got through everyone. Good conversation tonight. A lot of interesting topics. And I think I'm going to shut it down. The meetings for May are already posted on Managementing, so we'll be back in a couple weeks or so. And with that, last call. Thanks for coming. And
Thank you.
we'll catch you all next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.